We're going to tackle an important topic for the next half hour, the skills gap in workplace development. We have three people who have devoted their careers to this topic and are approaching it in similar but different ways. But I want to give you a heads up that it's very important that you all get into this when we open it up. We want to hear what your challenges and accomplishments and questions are for these people. And given that your organizations are not household names to corporate America, I wanted to start by asking you each to briefly explain your organization, what it does, what its goals are, and what you're trying to achieve. Byron?
Yes, Opportunity at Work fundamentally enables the business sector and employers to contribute collectively. It's like a utility for inclusive hiring that allows you to get to overlooked talent and therefore allows people who maybe don't have the degrees from the schools you normally recruit from, who may not even have a college degree or the specific work experience, but who do have the skills, who learned it on the job, who learned it in the armed forces, who learned it anywhere, to be able to show what they can do. We say, show what you can do and our jobs will look for you. And instead of screening you by your pedigree and keywords in your resume, you're screened in by demonstrations of skills, job readiness interview by professional recruiters who themselves are volunteers, little half-hour chunks, and great organizations like these up on stage. Their alumni, they can be supported in their journey. They can get feedback to improve their programs. And the thing that makes it all work is businesses, because what a business needs to do is to be able to say, here are the roles we'd be willing to hire based on performance rather than pedigree. Here are the demonstrations. Like we developed our first with Amazon and Pinterest and CVS. This is in software development. I mean, so these are real business things. But to make that available and make that opportunity available is what sets the whole cycle going.
And just go a little bit deeper for a moment. In a business sense, what is Opportunity at Work's product? Are you a database? Are you a membership organization? And who pays?
Yeah. So Opportunity at Work was started much like John's companies. It was sort of, we have investment, so we started up, and Reid Hoffman is our board chair, for example, and we have high net worth individuals who care a lot about solving this issue sort of behind us. The business model is for big companies, it is a membership organization. So it might be an annual membership, and what you get for that is a certain amount of hires, sort of take or pay. Secondly, you have a way of having a better experience for people who come to you to seek your jobs. Millions of people might apply for your jobs. Many of them are your customers. And right now, so many of them you turn away, just not considering them just because, let's say, they don't have a college degree or they don't have the right keywords. So instead of giving them that brush off over and over, you can give them a handoff to Opportunity at Work and our techhire.careers, where they can then get coaching, they can have practice interviews, and they actually can show their skills to get a job, and that's what drives the system.
And how many corporate members right now?
Well, we have support from Google, from Walmart, from Workday, there's quite a few, and we're in conversations with a bunch more. I think this initiative, the Fortune Initiative, as well as the Business Roundtable Initiative announced recently, are fantastic developments because this works much better if a lot of companies do it together.
Great, great, good. Maria, Jobs for the Future.
Sure. Hi, good morning. It's great to be here. The Jobs for the Future, we've talked a lot about moonshots already at this event. Our moonshot is really looking to see how do we make automation, dignified work, and economic advancement kind of the heart of the American dream. So we work on both the supply and the demand side of the labor market to help individuals, young people and adults attain post-secondary credentials and move into family-sustaining jobs, and we help employers get the skilled workers that they need. So a little different than Byron, we are a national intermediary, which if you think kind of not a great analogy, but if you think of a venture capital, like we kind of sit between investors and innovators. So our funders range from foundations, federal and state government, corporations, and then we do work with system leaders, whether that be employers, community colleges, school districts, community-based organizations, to really help design and scale what works around the country, and also do a policy component to help influence policy decisions at the federal and state level.
So you have a policy component, but you're also doing the training of these young people, is that correct?
We don't.
Or you're funding it?
We do not do direct service. We run kind of national initiatives, of multi-site initiatives. So we have networks of community colleges, school districts, and others Yesterday, we just, Google announced a partnership that we have with them where we are helping them take the digital IT certificate that they just announced with Coursera, and we are leveraging our community college networks to really take the uptake of that certificate to scale around the country. And so we do that type of work.
And real quickly, Maria, I just want to make clear one thing. I mentioned a moment ago young people. Are young people the focus?
We are cross-cutting, so again, a little different than Europe. We really work from high school up through adult workers because we think that the alignment of these systems between high school, post-secondary, workforce really need to come together. And I think that it's important that companies like those in the room really start to think about their talent solutions coherently that way. Like, what are the on-ramps that they need? What are the upskilling solutions they need for their current workers? You know, how are they thinking about investment in those populations strategically, and how are they thinking about kind of the alignment between their HR initiatives and their CSR investments?
Great. So I want to point out to all of you, we not only have interesting missions and ideas here, but also interesting names, right? So we have opportunity at work, we have jobs for the future, and we have Year Up. Garrett, please.
Thank you. Good to be here this morning. Year Up, we say our mission is to close the opportunity divide, which is that separation between young people in poorer neighborhoods who don't really have a view or have any access to opportunity, and companies, on the other hand, who are looking to hire talent. We run a one-year program that is divided half and half between 6 months of classroom training in professional skills and technical skills, so IT and financial operations, as well as how to give feedback, how to give public speaking, how to do an elevator pitch to an employer, et cetera. The second 6 months is a paid internship at a corporate partner. Companies pay us $26,000 for an intern. We have high school graduates who are low income. We look for the ones who are ready to really work hard. We have a high accountability system. It's full-time in the program, 35 hours a week. We have a point system. We hold people to very high, you get demerits, and if you lose all your points, you're out. About 3/4 of the students finish the program. 90% of the ones who finish are in school or work within 4 months. The average work salary at the end of the program is $40,000. So these are young people who go from almost nothing to really great white-collar jobs.
And what's your geographic reach and breadth?
We're in 20 cities all around the country. We work with 300 companies. We have 900 staff members, $150 million budget. It's a real business. About 45% of our interns continue as permanent employee of their internship host companies, and another 35% or so go on to full-time work elsewhere.
And you have news to share with our audience
Yes,
this
thank
morning.
you. Today we just published the results of a randomized control trial that was done with the federal government, with Health and Human Services. 5 years ago we did we bumped up our admissions program by 50% so that we could do a lottery at the last second of our admissions process and create a 1/3 control group, 2/3 treatment group, and with the partnership of the government who can look into everything, track those alumni. And the results that we're publishing today show that the students who are in the Year Up program earn 53% more at the completion of the program than those who did not go in the program, and that after 3 years there's still a 40% gap. So really a hugely affirming and exciting outcome for us.
And I think that is worthy of applause. Thank you. Garrett, talk about the importance from your organization's perspective of doing a randomized controlled trial. Did I get that expression right?
Yes.
Because it's important to measure these things as opposed to theorize about them, right?
Right. There are a lot of social programs that go with a big heart and go out and do work, doing this program for us, doing the randomized control trial, was a traumatic experience. We have an intimate interview process because you really have to learn what a student's up against to figure out whether they're going to withstand the year of intensity that we put them through. But at the end, we have an unassailable proof that these were folks who were admitted but for the lottery. So we prove the efficacy of the elements of our program. There are a number of things that we think are really important to that, so it doesn't prove the relative strength or importance of one versus the other. But a big headline is it doesn't work without companies leaning in, figuring out what job tracks work, partnering with us in mentorship and really having a genuine interest in making Opportunity Youth a part of their pipeline. And we're growing 25% a year, and we can't keep up with the demand. So it's
You're
very
growing
exciting.
25% per year, measured by what? By
Number of students we serve.
students. Byron, go ahead, please.
Yeah, can I say, first of all, it's a fantastic result, and I think it is important to measure, but I think it's actually indicative of a mindset problem we have, that we think of something like Europe as a social service,
Yep.
as opposed to as a talent source, like we think of schools or like we think of others, because the fact that they're earning 53% more also tells you they're contributing much more. These are people who have a lot of talent, and that our existing systems are not good at tapping into that talent and not good at deploying it, and it is a drag on our entire economy. And I agree with Maria, it's not just young people, it's people who need reskilling. If every time there's a change in technology, a third of people fall off the wagon and can't get back on, that is damaging our society, and it's damaging all of our businesses.
Yeah. And I think that there's, with a lot of the news kind of focused on the low unemployment rate, which is good news in many ways, I think that we often lose the thread that there's a lot of challenges underneath that statistic that we need to dig deeper into. And so, one of the issues that we're turning towards is the fact that there are 90 million adults in the US who do not have an education beyond high school, right? And yet, as I'm sure all of you know, the jobs that are being created, more and more, probably over 90% of them, requires some post-secondary education or training. So how do we start to kind of really dig into that mismatch?
And here's the common theme among the three of you that I've found that I'm fascinated by is this issue of pedigree versus skills. I think we've been taught for a long time that pedigree is the most important thing you need for jobs. And yet,
Yeah, well, I think, first of all, you should think of skills more broadly than just technical skills. I mean, they're professional skills, they're interpersonal, there are many skills. So it's not a narrow view of skills. But when you take that view, what you're fundamentally saying is that what you should be hiring on is someone's ability to perform, someone's ability to contribute in in team environment and so forth, and that those can be directly observed, that you don't have to go by these proxies. And the proxies we've chosen are particularly damaging, because if we choose, let's say, selective college education as a proxy, well, you may know that selective colleges haven't increased seats in 40 years, right? But the demand for skills has increased, which means we have defined our way into a skills gap. And what's more, when we talk about inclusion versus exclusion, exclusion is not an incidental feature of a system where your quality signal is based on selectivity. Right? There's no objective limit to how many people could master a certain skill, but there is an objective limit to how many seats there are in selective universities. So business has almost weaponized higher education from the standpoint of economic opportunity by making that the signal. So this is the room that can change that.
Yeah.
And it's not that you have to change everything you're doing, but there has to be a lane in the labor market where someone can show what they can do, where if they can do the job, they can get the job, where their efforts can lead to progress, right? Where their learning can lead to earning. And if there's not for half the people in the country, if half the people are stuck, well, we've got a real problem. And it's not just a social problem, it's a business problem.
now, I think this is the issue. Is corporate America getting it? Does corporate America understand this?
I'd say two things. One is on Byron's point about credentials. There was a HBS report that was put out this year called "Dismissed by Degrees,"
I'm sorry, say the report again.
Dismissed by Degrees, and it analyzes this problem of increasing job credential requirements for entry-level work. And one of the data points that sticks out with me was that of the production supervisor jobs that were tracked in this study, 76% required a college degree. 16% of the people who actually held the jobs had a college degree.
Right.
People are doing this screening out of laziness because there's too many resumes to sort, and it's having an incredibly poisonous effect on people who have come from less advantaged backgrounds.
Yeah.
So, big deal. The other thing I would just say, if I could jump in.
Please.
I spent 30 years on Wall Street and was a lifelong student of urban issues. Spending day to day with these young people, the thing that comes through that I really, really didn't see, I thought I believed, but I didn't know, was that talent is equally spread. Mm-hmm. There are so many young people who just never had a shot, who are incredibly smart and ambitious, who really are excelling at our companies. A lot of companies we have 300 companies, and we have some incredibly switched on, excited companies who have seen that and felt it. And there's no substitute, in my opinion, for feeling it, because you can read all the books you want. Until you meet a couple of these young folks, who just never had it, who are dying to succeed and dying for mentorship, it'll energize your team and it will energize your company. That's what we see every time.
Yeah, and when we wrap, I'm going to ask you what can people in this room do. But go ahead, Maria.
Yes, I think two things. One, I do think in the past, say, 5 years, we have seen more corporations take a more active role. I think that Byron mentioned some that invest in both of our organizations: Walmart, Google, Microsoft. We had a conference in New Orleans a few weeks ago where we showcased McDonald's and Best Buy. Folks who are really starting to put kind of their money where their mouth is when it comes to building their workforce. And I think, an angle I think that's important to examine is the importance of work-based learning and apprenticeship. And I think that can be registered apprenticeship, like Siemens and other companies are embracing, as well as other types of high-quality work-based learning experiences, because I think that is a strategy that works kind of across these populations and can kind of help show employers that individuals can do the job and can kind of build in that kind of accelerated learning that's needed.
I want to ask you for either your questions of the panel or examples of what your company is doing or problems that you're having. Please raise your hand. We'll have a mic. We'll have a mic come to you right there. And please stand if you would. It's easier to get you on camera.
Sure. Margaret Keene from Synchrony. I just couldn't agree more than what all of you are saying. And one of the things that we're doing in our company is really focusing on our exempt workforce. And we have two programs. One, it's called STEP. We actually take people who maybe aren't the people you want at the high end, but that we train them for 2 years and they go from being an hourly worker to a manager. And we really excel. The second, we've made a big commitment to pay for college. So we'll pay up to $20,000 a year for people to get their degree. And in many cases, the degrees are in the local community where they're going to work. And I'm a big believer that it helps drive the diverse workforce because that's where all our diversity sits. So just two examples.
Thank you. Right there behind you, please. And then we'll come over here to the middle. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Kathleen Savio. I'm with Zurich Insurance, CEO here in North America.
Welcome.
As part of a Swiss company, one of the things that's very prevalent in Switzerland is apprenticeships. Yep. And here in North America, we actually started the first apprenticeship program in insurance. So what we're doing is paying for a 2-year associate's degree. So the students go to school 2 days a week. They work for us 3 days a week. At the end of their 2 years, they have a full-time position with us in underwriting, claims, and in finance. And then we're tracking those folks through. We will support them finishing their 4-year degree if they choose to, but they do have a route to a career. We had our first group graduate of the 2-year program, so I'm happy to see that group of cohorts, and we're aiming for 100 people by the end of 5 years, and we'll see where it goes from there. But we're looking for other partners in the insurance industry to join us with that more nationwide, and then perhaps other industries would pursue the same at beyond sort of manufacturing types of apprenticeships, but professional apprenticeships.
Thank you for sharing that. As the mic moves over here, please. We don't have a culture of apprenticeship in the United States, do we? And a few of you have mentioned internships, and I know the meme is that internships are the preserve of affluent children, right?
Yes, I think we want to pursue kind of several strands in this arena. So I think registered apprenticeship is on the rise, which is fantastic, and a lot of the work that Byron and others did during the Obama administration really kind of started that trend. And I think as the woman from Zurich said, it's important to realize that it's not just about the skilled trades. There are registered apprenticeships available in many, many occupations across many industries. That said, I think there are also other kind of high-quality work-based learning paid models that are also good for companies to consider. So we have a Center for Apprenticeship and Work-Based Learning that Salesforce and Walmart are funding. That is a great resource that folks can tap into to learn more about these approaches.
Yeah. Please. Yep.
Hi, I'm Heather Bruner from WP Engine, and I just want to say thank you for your leadership. One of the things, we've been a beneficiary from the strategy of not requiring a college degree. So we don't require a college degree for any role all the way up to the executive suite. And it's enabled us to really widen the talent pool. I think I really resonate with your quote where you said, basically talent is something that's not a constraint. Basically, we see that a lot of folks just haven't had the opportunity to get into have an on-ramp into technology. We're providing that. So now out of, compared to a lot of you here, we're probably a small organization, 100 million run rate, about 550 employees, but a third of our organization is ethnically diverse. A third of our organization does not have a college degree. 60% of our executive suite are women, and a third of our non-executive management are women. So we're seeing, and a third ethnically diverse. So we're seeing that by opening the doors wider and investing in people when they come in that don't have a college degree, we're seeing fantastic results, both in terms of professional skills training, as well as the soft skills, leadership training, et cetera.
Please, yeah.
A great anecdote on the college degree requirement we have is 10 years ago, State Street Corporation was a partner of ours. They took desktop support interns. They had a junior accounting role, which is a fundamental entry-level role for them, and they had very difficult turnover numbers, and we're trying to figure out what to do with it. It was a college degree required job. Our graduates earn about a year's worth of college with us, but they don't even have an associate's when they finish usually. They said, let's take some of the Europe interns and try them out in this role and see how it goes. That was 10 years ago. They've taken 1,000 interns, hired 650 full-time, and the interns from Europe stay an average of 4.5 years in the company, and the college grads stay an average of 2 years. And it's all perfect data because the company owns it. So we have a site inside the company, and they're off to the races.
That's great. We need to scale that. I think. Go ahead, Byron, please.
And I think scale is what I want to emphasize here, and the system, because Europe is a fantastic program with very high ROI in the system, the broken system we have. Europe fills that gap, and if you're not working with Europe, you probably should be. Jobs for the Future, Maria could tell you about all the there are a lot of good training programs around, and Jobs for the Future has really done a great job of what are they, where are they, what's applied. So you have assets there. And then in this room, and in every room I've been in it, the top companies are making real investments in this. So why are we all still here? Why is this still a problem? All our efforts today, plus about 150 years, will get us halfway there. We're not close. We're not close to what we need to be. And the clue is, it's not just a culture of apprenticeship, and it's not just apprenticeship programs. Switzerland, Germany, they have apprenticeship systems that companies plug into. Companies do their part, but it works with other parts. And if a company individually has to do all of this, it simply can't succeed. We can only solve this problem if companies work together. It's a market-based problem, so governments can't just fix it, but it's a collective action problem. And most companies, last I checked, don't have departments of collective action. So the question is, how do you work together? An opportunity at work fundamentally exists in order to be able to plug those pieces together. So wherever you are as a company. So for example, you might have a college degree requirement. You might not be ready to take that off yet for certain jobs. But how about if people applying for those jobs who you're screening out on that basis, instead of turning them away, you turn them onto us because other companies might want them. As you discover how well they're doing at other companies, maybe you'll change your mind, right? And working with your own employees is a very big deal. I really applaud expanding the higher education benefits to the frontline workers. That's one of the most important things you can do. But in our talent equity financing, we're also finding ways to allow that to be much shorter course programs. So, and by the way, one of the greatest assets you have, the people in your company who so desperately want to do something and help, we get recruiters as coaches, 30 minutes on their calendar anytime, and they can do the job readiness interview. And because it's to our network, not to your company, they give feedback in every interview. So nobody fails in our system. They're not ready yet. They get feedback. They know what they need to work on. And it's a great experience whether they're ready or whether they're not. And finally, the people who might not be ready to work in your company but very well be ready to work in one of your suppliers or in someone else's suppliers. So I can't emphasize enough how important it is to have a network and to start to get the flywheel spinning. So if all of you made it possible for people to get jobs in your company, and you made this TechHire.careers is one way, there may be others, and then make it possible for your suppliers or your customers who are interested to also do that. The smaller businesses that don't have big IT departments can't do these big programs, and hand off everyone who you are not willing to consider so that someone else can consider them instead of making them data spray left on the cutting room floor.
Tony.
Hi, I'm Tony Profit from Salesforce. I just want to endorse some of the things that Garrett is saying. We're proud to be one of the founding partners with Europe, and we have 2 cohorts of about 25 folks each year that come through Salesforce, and it's just absolutely incredible talent. I've got a couple on my team. About half or more of the folks go on to be permanently employed as Salesforce or as contractors at Salesforce. So it's an amazing, amazing program. It really opens the widens the portal into the fourth industrial revolution. Talking about the notion of apprenticeships, we don't necessarily call them apprenticeships, but we're launching a program called Pathfinder, and we're doing this in partnership with Deloitte. I see Kathy Engelbart here is our partner in this program at Deloitte. We're starting in Indianapolis. We have the first cohort of about 50 people started this spring. And the idea is to train them up to work in technical jobs as admins and developers in the Salesforce ecosystem. Deloitte has committed to hire 10% of the graduates coming out of this program, and so we're pioneering and trailblazing in a new form of apprenticeship that doesn't require a four-year college degree, and we think this is the next wave, and we're excited to partner with Deloitte in this spirit.
That's great.
Tony, I want to thank you for your statement and challenge you, not this moment, but later. You know, part of the CEO initiative that Fortune is sponsoring is to figure out how business can take collective action, and Byron raised this as well. And I think, you know, like you said, that'll be a 150-year project. We won't get there, but these are great individual company or joint company actions, but we need collective action, right?
Challenge accepted.
Okay, good.
This dyad, this partnership, the Deloitte partnership, many other folks in the room, too numerous to mention, but you know, absolutely challenge accepted. So,
great, thank you.
By the way, I think we can only get there fast with collective action, but it's got to be market-based.
Yep, okay, good.
Good morning. Abe Ashkenazi with APICS, the Association for Supply Chain Management. I want to echo what you've said about the public-private partnership, because I think that's where we gap in terms of talent development and workforce development for the future. We've got to get into the grammar schools, we've got to get into the middle schools and the high schools. By the time they graduate high school, it's too late. We've already missed the opportunity to, you know, not only demonstrate the opportunity. We just did a study with National Association of Manufacturing and Deloitte, as a matter of fact, on women in supply chain. While we have 50-50 entry into the supply chain field, less than 27% of management are women in organizations. They're not given the opportunity. The pay disparity is about 15% after about 5 to 10 years in the system. The talent is out there. How can we get the collective responsibility here to sit down together and identify the problem that we all face? This is not an individual organization issue. This is a systemic issue that we need to address. How do we get the organizations to work together to see that this is a common problem, not an individual corporate problem?
I strongly agree with everything you said, except one thing. With all due respect, I do not believe it's too late once someone is out of school, because, and if it is too late, well then we really are you know, we're never going to succeed, because the half-life of skills is changing a lot. So if we believe that we have to depend on our K-12 and our higher education system to do this, and someone's going to work for 50 years and they're going to have to be reskilled every like 5-6 years, it's not going to work. The way it works now within your companies is you very purposefully manage that talent and that need within your company so that you can continue to succeed in your business. The problem is, outside of your top companies, who is helping to shape that pipeline? Who is kind of giving people real choices? People need to get coached, they need to get skilled, and they need to get hired or advanced. That's what happened to all of us. That's how we got here. I don't think there's any reason to believe that it should be any different for anyone else. The humans in this room succeeded through mentorship and coaching and opportunities and shots on goal and training and being supported in that so we could work and learn. Well, the humans outside of this room and the half of Americans that are stuck, they need the same thing, and we can deliver it at scale if we work together.
Maria?
Yes, I agree with the collective action completely, because I think that if I were you, I would think of it in two ways. One, what can you do within your company? How can you invest more in your entry-level workers, your frontline workers, kind of your talent pipelines, but also think how you can act more broadly, collaboratively, and whether that is regionally, whether it's by industry. But I completely agree with everything that's said, that until we kind of get to that collective action, we're not going to achieve the scale that we need. And I know at dinner last night there was a comment about, do we think traditional systems can be reformed or not? So I come out of the public sector, so I'm not ready to give up on them yet. So I do think that there's a role for everybody to play, but I think at this moment it's important that business more and more try to take the lead.
And Garrett, I'd like to give you the last word. And Wall Street is very good at collective action on issues that are important to Wall Street. Any closing thoughts on what the business community's collective action might be?
Well, Business Roundtable just announced an initiative this week. It's a good example of that. I think to me, my question is not collective action. It's how do you get your team into it? Because by far, when CEOs take action and allow their teams to break rules like a college degree is required, and you can hire kids from the community who have unconventional backgrounds, that switches on the system, and having a big company that has felt that and seen that and participated in it will find a way. Everybody needs to make a plan. There are a lot of different ways to go about that, and there are many ways to do it collectively, I believe, today. But it won't take hold, it won't be energized within your firm until your team feels it. And there are a lot of ways for you to get into the game and feel it. And you know, you just heard from Salesforce. It's in the bloodstream there. JP Morgan, it is a huge deal there. And those companies are going to take us to the next level.
And in closing, I'm going to paraphrase and say rule breaking is good, in particular when the system is broken.
Right.
So Garrett, Maria, Byron, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So much. Thank you.